I want to show you how to make the best tacos that I've ever had. A few notes first. One, I've never actually been to Mexico and had real tacos, but I've been making them for years by Mexican recipes, and these are absolutely by far the best. Two, this is actually not authentic barbacoa. For that, I'd have to dig a pit in the ground, and I'm not digging a pit in the ground to make tacos. This is the next best thing and way more convenient. And you're thinking, well, if you've never actually had real tacos, then how do you know this is the next best thing? Well, this recipe is actually an amalgamation of 5 or 6 different recipes, all from Mexican people. 3 or 4 of them were actually in Spanish, and all I've done is averaged out the amount of the ingredients that they used. And even if there were no such thing as barbacoa in Mexico, and I just made this whole thing up, they're still amazing, and you're not going to be disappointed. 3, you don't actually have to watch the rest of this video. You can just do what I did. Use the cooking method below with the ingredients list and go to it. If you watch the video, you can get some pointers and maybe feel like you've already done it once before you start. With no further ado, let's start cooking. There are 2 parts to this process. These are the ingredients for the first part. There's a huge block of meat. Any kind of meat you want is fine. I like to use this pork because it's fatty from Costco and it's cheap. You can see right here, we've got all this fat on it, and I like that. You can use leaner cuts if you want. You can use really any kind of meat you want. This happens to be 2.34, close enough to 2.5 kilos, 5 pounds. So that's what I'm using for this recipe, and I've adjusted all the ingredients. This is supposed to be 200 grams of jalapeno peppers. I only have 150 grams today, so I'm using that. But I'm adding some extra peppers that I don't normally add, and I'll show that later. And then we have 1 large onion diced with 5 bay leaves. Okay, now we have the second part. We have 2.5 tablespoons of cumin, 2.5 tablespoons of black pepper. We have 1 1/3 tablespoons of oregano. Should be Mexican oregano. I'm using normal oregano. 1.5 teaspoons of salt. This is Himalayan salt, which I don't find as salty as normal salt. But what I do later is taste it when it's done and either add salt or just put salt out when we have the tacos, and people can add however much salt they want. This is 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. There's supposed to be, for this amount of meat and everything, 8 cloves of garlic. These cloves of garlic are a little small, so I added 2 more. And we also have 1/3 of a teaspoon of cloves, ground cloves. Then we have 1/2 cup of lime juice and 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar, which I mixed together there. We have the star of the show, in my opinion, the chipotle peppers in adobo sauce, and I've put them in this small food processor that I'm going to use to mix everything up. And it calls for 6 of these peppers, but I put in 8 because, if you remember, I didn't have enough jalapenos. This is only 150 grams of jalapenos. I want 200 grams. So I added a little more spiciness with this. These are pasilla, or as my friend Chris would say, pasilla peppers. They are not spicy. I'm just adding them for a little more earthiness. This is the first time I've ever added them. This recipe does not call for other peppers. It only calls for these and jalapenos. I mean, actually, it doesn't even call for jalapenos. It calls for other peppers, or green peppers. So I use canned jalapenos because that's all I've got here. And what I'm going to do, and here's some stock. This is a meat stock. You can use vegetable, beef, chicken, or whatever. And we're going to put it all in this food processor and mix it up. I am not going to put the soup in it though, because it's not going to fit. Look at that thing. There we go. This mess is all the stuff mixed up in the food processor minus this, which I might add later. Looks like some will fit on top. Okay, here we go. After it's all blended, you can see I've learned by experience that this little thing overflows sometimes, so I put some paper towels under it. And now I'll just add the soup stock. And I'm not even going to bother pulsing that. I'll just maybe mix it up with a spoon after I take the blade out, because if I try it, it's going to probably overflow. I don't think this is really a big deal, but I try to cut it so that to separate the lean part, the lean half, from the fatty half. And when I put it together later, I put the leaner part on the bottom and the fattier part on the top, so the fats from the top flow down to the bottom. And some recipes actually, that I've seen online, they actually recommend you cut off the fat, because, I mean, this fat is enough and you're cooking it for so long that this gets really, really soft. You'll see later. But for me, the more fat, the better. Fat's where the taste is, so I keep it in. Now you need barbecue otasuke sheet, 45 waido, which is basically heavy duty, what do you call that? Aluminum foil, heavy duty aluminum foil. Okay, so this stuff is necessary. You can't use, you can't use normal thin aluminum foil for this. You need the heavy duty stuff. Very important. I think this might be a little too big, we'll see. But you can see it's got double sheet. I've made a crease on this side 3 times. It's about a 2 centimeter crease. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other side to make a pocket. Here's the inside. You can see I just put the fattier meat on top of the other meat, and I just threw the onions, bay leaves, and jalapeños on top. Okay, so there we go. I have everything done, and we have this opening at the end. And I have to say that this style of cooking is based on barbacoa, which is meat cooked in a pit in the ground over like a long time, and they put leaves on it and they cover it, but they actually bury it in soil, and so all the juices and everything stay together. So that's why you need like a really good seal on the outside. Now, I've never been able to have a perfect one, but pretty close. Probably after we cook this, if this is like the other times that I've cooked it, some juice will actually get outside of the package somehow. But anyway, this is the best way to keep all the juices in and everything. So you make sure you got a good seal around it. Now we'll go to the next step, the fun part. What? You mean this wasn't fun already? No. Okay, now I'm going to pour this stuff into here. And this is not fun. Ooh! Did it. Did not spill a drop. Look at that. Okay. Now, seal up this side. This is what it looks like, all wrapped up with the edges all sealed. I'll preheat the oven to 167 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit if you live 200 years ago. That is according to the first recipe that I ever found on this, how to make barbacoa in the oven, which I will put in the notes for you. In her recipe that she got from her grandmother, she only uses 4 ingredients. Anyway, you can see here that at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 75 minutes per pound means that at 5 pounds, we're gonna have to cook this thing for 6.5 hours. Okay, it's ready. So I set it for the maximum of time that my oven can go for, which is 2 hours. And so in 2 hours, I'm gonna have to do it again. And then another 2 hours, I'm gonna have to do it again. And 6 hours probably should be enough, but I might just leave it there for 6.5 hours. You might be asking yourself, why not make it in a slow cooker? Yeah, you can, but you're not going to get a seal around the meat and keep in the juices as much. Also, you can put this in a pressure cooker, which I tried last time, and look how I'm cooking it this time. I found the pressure cooker just kind of took the juice out of the meat, and there was just a lot of extra juice. Whereas when I make this, the juice and the meat kind of seem to be even. Here we are right out of the oven, and as predicted, some of the juice came out the sides, but not bad. You can see in the tray that there's not much, there's nothing in the tray almost. Woo-wee. And now we just take the bay leaves out. And there's a couple more in there we'll get in a second, but look at how delicate this meat is. You can just mash it with a fork. Oh my god, that's amazing. Look at that. So another way to do it, just use 2 forks and like this, but oh, look at that fat. It's amazing. But really, look at how soft this meat is. You just mash it. It's crazy. It looks really liquidy now, but once you break up all the meat, the meat and the liquid kind of mix together. So now you see that when it's all like, you know, what do you call that, shredded, it's all shredded, that liquid kind of mixes with it. So beautiful. Now we get to taste it. Oh, it's perfect. There's enough salt too. Okay, now just wet the outside a little bit and cook it for 15-30 seconds each side. But this is not the way I prefer tortillas. I actually cook them in oil, like grapeseed oil or just other cooking oil, because then the outside gets crispy and it doesn't get as wet with the meat. Next, I like to have this with about 4 toppings. So sour cream, red onion, cilantro, and avocado. The final result. Oh man, those are beautiful. Okay, well, I can't film and eat this at the same time, or can I? Ooh. Just enough salt. Spicy. Sour cream balances it out. Has a little zing. Oh, spices, cumin. Oh, so amazing. You gotta try this. This is night number 2, enjoying the tacos, so I decided to heat a pot up. You gotta heat up the pot good first, then put the oil in, and then fry each tortilla for about 30 seconds. Sometimes less. The tortilla is going to puff up a little bit. And again, the reason why I do this is because, well, it makes the tortilla taste better, it gets a little bit crispy on the outside, and then that also stops the wetness of the meat from going through the tortilla. So, see, the outside is a little crispy now. It's a little early, so the oil is not that hot yet. I put this in a plate with some paper towels and then do the next one. Okay, I'm back to bore you with two more final notes. One, you'll notice that I changed things a little bit from the ingredients list below. They didn't make it any better, so I strongly recommend you just stick to the list below. I've made this recipe a couple times since recording the video, and the only thing that I've changed is I add 2 or 3 more chipotle peppers. But again, please make it exactly as below first, and then later if you want to change it, go ahead. Final note, I noticed while editing the video that I don't really look like it's that delicious, but it's because I'm kind of thinking like a chef. I'm thinking about the balance of taste and everything like that. Trust me, there's a flavor explosion going on in my mouth. These things are really amazing. You know, at least I didn't do the typical over-exaggerating the flavor thing that everybody else does in videos. But anyway, thanks for watching.